Guys, I'm just going to show a quick gameplay video of my last sets of Season 4. Sorry there wasn't too much innovation in Open Great League. I was kind of uh, more focused on my own personal goals within GBL, trying to reach the front page of the leaderboard and stay there again. So don't worry, there'll be a lot of innovation to come. I'll be trying to push out some Little Cup teams this in the first couple days here of Little Cup, and then later some Kanto Cup teams as well. Before we get started, first of all, huge shout out to my Patreon supporters once again. And I guess this guide can serve, or this gameplay video can serve as a bit of an updated matchup guide for the Vigoroth, Victreebel, Bastiodon lineup, just because there are a couple new Pokemon and the meta has shifted a little bit, so there might be some matchups you're not used to seeing. So let's get right into it. We're going to look at the first game. This is not a favorable lead. We see Skarmory, and with this new switch menu, you can swap absolutely right away. So obviously we do that. I'm going to build up a lot of energy because I think the Skarmory might want to swap out. The other thing is Skarmory has a self-debuffing move, so you want to save energy just in case they do use the Brave Bird, then your Body Slams will hit much harder. In this case, Skarmory stays in. I shield because I thought it was potentially a Brave Bird, and they're actually going to swap now, finally, into their Shadow Machamp. So the swap timer is a little bit out of sync now, which is not too bad. It's pretty good for me because then I can feint this Machamp and then get out right away and lock in whichever Pokemon comes in for a little bit. So I'm going to swap right away. Going to be able to catch this Skytech. This is another product of the new Switch menu. You can't do that with the old Switch menu, that's for sure. And this Skarmory is stuck in with the Bastiodon, cannot even swap out. Unfortunately, now my Bastiodon is stuck in with their Azumarill. But in this case, I have one shield and a Victreebel, and all I need to do is just shield my Victreebel and take him down with fast moves. The only way he can possibly win is if he undercharges properly here and then farms all the way down and has enough for 2 Ice Beams in a couple attacks. But I'm not going to let that happen. I'm just going to keep putting the pressure on with Bastiodon, and eventually the switch timer wears off and I'm able to bring Shadow Victreebel back in and just clean that one up nice and easy. So all these sets were in a row. I actually had a lot of 3-2 sets in a row, a lot of positive sets. This team has still been very consistent for me. That's why I went back to it. Not a lot of time for experimenting. We only had 6 days to try and push for whatever ratings. This is a Toxicroak lead. Generally, I used to 2 shield. I changed up my strategy a little, but they decided to swap out. So I count their fast moves there. Make sure that by the time they're at foul play, I can swap to my Bastiodon. I like staying with Shadow Victreebel in the Umbreon switch-ins for a little bit, just because Snarls don't hurt, and you can deal out a ton more damage than Bastiodon can in the time where they're charging up to a foul play. So in this case, I actually considered undercharging that, but they decided to shield anyways. And now I'm in a pretty good position, just due to the fact that they don't have any shields left. So they try and bring Toxicroak in. I don't want to get countered down or mud bombed, so I'm going to throw my energy there. On a flamethrower, I don't think that's a waste, and they're going to come back with Umbreon, and I'm just going to catch this foul play here. I don't want to have to spend a shield, and the fact that they threw Toxicroak in there like that made me think that potentially they had a Pokemon like Altaria in the back or something, or Skarmory, where they really needed that Bastiodon down. So that's why I swapped to save the Bastiodon. Unfortunately, we'll never actually know what they were playing. So Abomasnow lead, another bad lead. I tried to swap right away, but I missed my button. And here we are. They're going to stay in and take a little bit of damage. This is really good for Vigoroth because I'm dealing quite a bit of damage with those counters, and I'm able to get to quite a bit of energy as well. Unfortunately, I catch a Body Slam with Sableye. And I think I misplayed this situation a little bit. So I shield, but unfortunately I've already tapped Bulldoze, and I didn't realize I was locked into it. At this point, I probably would have ended up just baiting instead, but because I was locked in, I had to still Bulldoze. So I'm going to try and get this Sableye very low. I debate spending another shield, but I'm pretty sure they have 2 foul plays stored up. In this case, I'm going to go back in with the Victreebel to try and... Oh, they didn't have 2 foul plays stored up. but that's also not normally how I play this matchup. I would normally play it with the Bastiodon in first, farm down the Sableye, and then switch into Victreebel to force the Abomasnow to come out, and then farm down that Abomasnow with Bastiodon and beat the Azumarill with just an energy advantage. But unfortunately, in this case, that is not how I played it. And this game is much harder, in fact, impossible, because now I have Victreebel versus Abomasnow. So I'm not sure why I chose to play this game a little bit differently, but just goes to show, like, even the littlest changes, it's not even a mistake, it's just a difference in playstyle can lead to a loss instead of a win. But I do make quite a few mistakes in some of these sets. I was not feeling great in this morning where I played most of these sets. We have Deoxys Defense in the lead. This is something I absolutely need to stay in with Shadow Victreebel. And we actually CMP Tyler, so we'll see what they throw. And it's a Psycho Boost. So they're at 9, and I know with one more they'll be at 10, and I can catch this second Psycho Boost on Vigoroth. I don't want to spend that other shield. This is something I've just started doing with this team too, more often. If I'm going to switch anyways, I might as well just do that. And as we want, we get that Azumarill out. They can't keep Deoxys Defense in there because he's debuffed 4 times now, and Vigoroth would just easily farm him down. So instead, I'm going to let Vigoroth go down here relatively fast. Normally I might shield versus an Azu, but switch advantage isn't what is important to me right now. I need to be able to take down this Azumarill. And I really have to hope that whatever's in the back, I don't really need shields to beat. And unfortunately, this is a Shadow Mawile. This Pokemon is an absolute monster. They're going to come in with Deoxys. Bastiodon can just farm him down. But the main problem here is Shadow Mawile. So, no shields. This Power-Up Punch is absolutely shredding. Bastiodon is 4 times super effective. I'm going to try and get to that second Flamethrower. It's going to be extremely close, but my opponent makes a great play. He must be counting Smackdowns because he Power-Up punches at the exact right time, and I am 1 Razor Leaf away from getting to that Leaf Blade. So in hindsight, if I actually didn't switch out, I would have won that game. Just because I would have been able to get to the Leaf Blade, but that's not something that I predicted. This next match versus a Melmetal lead, 4-6 Ninja likes running this team. I'm not sure the matchup versus Melmetal lead. I do know I can eat a Rock Slide, so I do that, and they swap out right away. And my Victreebel actually takes quite a bit of damage there, but I didn't realize it until much later. You're going to see a very questionable switch later, just because I thought I had more HP. I should really pay attention to the HP bars in the new switch menu, but he swaps into Alolan Marowak, so this is a Pokemon I absolutely need to eliminate. And I still have 2 shields, and they have no shields. So this battle is winnable, but their Melmetal also has a lot of energy, so that's something we have to worry about, because Melmetal can now pretty much KO any Pokemon on the team without shields. But they go into Meganium. So because Meganium comes in, I'm able to get a Flamethrower off and deal quite a bit of damage. They overfarmed quite a bit. And I'm going to go back and... So that was my pretty bad mistake. I pretty much just gave him free Vine Whips. And in this case, I have to make a bait call here. And if this is a Superpower Rock Slide, it's a Superpower. And because that was a Superpower, I can now win this game. If it wasn't, then I would have some issues. And Meganium is going to come back in. And I'm not sure if he was at a move. He would have been very close. But I was already at the Body Slam. And I think Vigoroth wins CMP versus Meganium. So I was feeling pretty safe there regardless. We're going to start off this this day, I guess, with a clean little 3-2. This team is still playing very similarly to before. I think I didn't have much time to experiment with different like switches or leads or anything like that, and I've got a couple ideas for leads and switches that I did want to try out. But like I said, there was only 6 days, so it's a very low or small time window. So Galvantula versus Victreebel. So I'm going to spend 2 shields here, or I'm going to try and force him to overtap. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Razor Leafs, and I throw this Leaf Blade to try and get him to overtap. But unfortunately, this guy, he waited. I could tell he waited a turn because he knew I was trying to force him to overtap. and he didn't overtap. So unfortunately, I have to spend 2 shields there. I swap out of this Alolan Marowak absolutely because I need to clear my debuffs. I don't want a double debuffed Victreebel just getting farmed down and then having Bastiodon try and come in on that. Luckily, Vigoroth is actually not too bad against Alolan Marowak. Vigoroth resists Ghost, and Bone Club is an awful move. So Alolan Marowak doesn't really do too much damage, and I'm able to even force a shield with Bulldoze and kind of work switch advantage back into my favor. I'm going to go in with Bastiodon right away, just because I know this Azu has saved up quite a bit of energy, and I try to swap to the Vic right away, but I think I missed the button, and luckily enough, I am going to get quite a bit of damage on that Azu before they are able to play rough me. It looks like they weren't running Ice Beam. So now we have Bastiodon versus Alolan Marowak and a very low health Azu in the back. And unfortunately, it's not going to be enough. If I had swapped right away on the Victreebel, I probably would have won that game. So it's just kind of a frustrating way to lose some of these games. I felt on my climb up. I was very upset at myself for some of these very poor plays. In this case, they're going to way overcharge on this Earthquake, and it's going to be a Rock Slide, so they get the bait off, which is fine. I don't mind shielding a Rock Slide, and then get this Leaf Blade off, and they're going to swap to Shadow Machamp. So I absolutely have to stay in. I'm not really sure why they swapped into Shadow Machamp here instead of just letting the G-Fist go down, because now they're locked in. And they're going to actually come back in with the Galarian Stunfisk. So they let the Galarian Stunfisk go down. Now it's a Venusaur versus 3 Pokemon. But Venusaur has a fantastic matchup versus these 3 Pokemon, so this game is not over yet, especially if it's able to get some farm on this Bastiodon before it takes it down. Bastiodon, at the very least, will be able to take a shield with this Flamethrower. But right now, I'm trying to think about how to get my Pokemon in here without losing everything. And this Venusaur is almost certainly at a Frenzy Plant again. I'm going to try and switch into the Vigoroth and then catch the Frenzy Plant on the Victreebel, but it does not work. They eventually have to throw it anyways, but not before getting quite a few Vine Whips off. And I'm going to need to counter down before they get to their next Frenzy Plant, and it's going to be very close. But I will just manage to win that game. Because luckily for me, they swapped into Shadow Machamp, and I still had enough health on Victreebel to deal with it. Victreebel is fantastic against Shadow Machamp. Especially if you're at full health, you don't even have to shield the Cross Chop in the first place. We're seeing Azumarill lead. Way less of these than I ever imagined, but they're going to swap into the Sableye. So I'm going to stay in. It's very important that if you can win these matchups very easily, that you do stay in, because then you can have full knowledge of their team. I expect an Alolan Marowak, or I expected an Alolan Marowak because that's the Tho Tactical team. Azu lead double Ghost. And in this case, I'm going to swap out right away to my Vigoroth, because you can just soak up the damage and the energy from Alolan Marowak. You can see that I don't throw any moves or shield anything on the Alolan Marowak, because I know as soon as their switch timer comes up, they're going to try and swap to Azu. So I want as many body slams as possible. You see I'm throwing one counter in between each of these body slams to maximize or minimize the amount of extra turns they get. And I'm going to manage to actually take down this Azu with Vigoroth, just because of all that extra energy, and my switch timer is up, so they bring back in Alolan Marowak, and I'm able to just bring in Bastiodon and finish this game off nice and easy. But yeah, this is one of those cases where I essentially sacrifice Vigoroth to reset the switch timer, because my Victreebel and Bastiodon are healthy enough. Okay, so this is a game that I'm pretty proud of, because it's a team that is extremely unfavorable, a very famous team. That is there's a pretty positive matchup versus this team, but I've finally found a way to Theorycraft and beat it. So this is how you beat the Caleb Peng team. This is Alolan Marowak lead, Shiftry, and Ferrothorn in the back. And what I realized was that if you stay in, and because your Victreebel is worse against their back line than it is against Alolan Marowak even, that if you just stay in and sacrifice your Victreebel, your Vigoroth can be the MVP. So we're going to save both shields for Vigoroth here. And counters do super effective damage to the back line. I'm saving up energy here. I just want to farm all the way down, and then I can just unload on Shiftry. But he realizes this is coming, and I'm gonna just start throwing body slams at the Shiftry. You can see each one does about half of the Shiftry's health. You can only tank one before having to use shields. And there we go. Second shield burned. I'm just gonna have to blow my own shield here, which is absolutely fine. And I'm able to farm down the Shiftry, so I just need to get to a Bulldoze here to finish off the Ferrothorn. And Bastiodon really didn't need to do too much there, just soaked up all the Alolan Marowak's energy. Victreebel didn't do anything, just tried to do as much damage to Alolan Marowak as it could, and Vigoroth beat the last two Pokemon by itself. So that is how you play that game. And that's kind of a little lesson in just trying to learn how to play a specific matchup. If you're seeing it often enough, you can actually beat it. So this game is versus Pepper Mini Sticks. I play them again in my last set, and it's going to be against the exact same team. So we can see another example of how to improve when you already know what their team does. This is Altaria lead into Shadow Machamp, and I believe the closer is a Shadow Victreebel as well. Unfortunately, because of this, they play the switch timer very well, I'm not able to get my Shadow Victreebel out of there. And he actually stays in with Altaria, which is very smart, because he knows my entire team. He knows that Victreebel can beat Bastiodon as long as enough damage is done to it. And because you're just throwing charge moves with Altaria, I'm not going to shield any of them. No one in their right mind would shield charge moves from Altaria on Bastiodon. So I'm actually going to end this game with 2 shields up, where I maybe could have one if I was able to read that situation better. But the next time we play, I'm going to know what his team is, and I'll adapt. What is it? Adapt, improvise, overcome, something like that. I don't know. But I'll play it better, and I do believe it's a spoiler, but I will come away victorious. I think my big mistake in this game was letting Vigoroth go down to the cross chop from Shadow Machamp, because that wasn't able to burn down the switch timer enough. So this guy will swap immediately from Swampert into Umbreon. Like I said earlier, count to 4 Snarls, and then switch out to Bastiodon. Bastiodon has a great matchup versus Umbreon. You really don't have to do too much. You can tank foul plays like crazy. Vigoroth is also very good, but the reason I haven't been swapping Vigoroth in is because it seems like some of the times Umbreon is paired with a Scrafty in the back. You can see I actually do try and undercharge that Stone Edge there, and they shield. So I'm going to Stone Edge again, and they shield again. So this is honestly ideal for me. I have 2 shields up, and they have an Umbreon that is extremely low. So I swap back into Vigoroth to try and reset things. I feel like if they're double shielding their Umbreon versus Bastiodon, they're absolutely trying to take it out, because whatever they have in the back is going to lose to it. So you can kind of like sense their desperation there trying to take out the Bastiodon. But I'm going to go on a gut feel and just shield my Vigoroth here and take out this Swampert, because I had a shield advantage. And that's all I want to do. I want to make sure that Swampert goes down for good. And I feel like that, yeah, the 3 Pokemon that I have remaining can beat pretty much anything in the Zero Shield. They do actually make a really fantastic swap to catch a Body Slam on Umbreon. I didn't even notice that. But I'm able to swap into Victreebel. I tried to catch a move, but they didn't throw it. So I'm just going to get to that Leaf Blade and finish their Abomasnow off real quick. All right, so another Altaria lead. They seem to be coming back in force recently. I just do think Altaria is an extremely good Pokemon. In this case, you can see I'm not throwing any charge moves. I'm waiting for them to throw one to reset the count, just to make sure I'm not giving them extra fast moves. So 1 counter, throw a Body Slam, 1 counter, throw a Body Slam, and then another 1 counter and throw a Body Slam. So yeah, Azumarill can beat you in switch advantage, but if you spend enough shields, you have a really good chance that the Azumarill isn't willing to spend that many shields on Body Slams. So they're actually going to come in right away with this Shadow Machamp, and this is a game saver for me. If they didn't do this, I think I would have lost for sure. So while I do have switch advantage, this doesn't really matter too much that I'm losing my Shadow Victreebel because they have an Altaria in the back. So now I've got my Bastiodon versus Azu at very low health, and even though they have a shield advantage with their Altaria, Bastiodon is going to be able to take this win. No charge moves necessary. Just a pretty smooth battle. This just shows just don't switch for no reason, I guess. If they just stayed in, let their Azu go down, and Machamp came in and farmed down, they would have been in a much better position. So we're going to see another Toxicroak lead. This against PvPIV.com. Very high skilled battler and very smart battler too, especially with like team comps and stuff like that. Uses a lot of that I guess his database to help make team comps. You can see here I played this matchup a little bit differently. I started swapping and catching the second Mud Bomb on Toxicroak, and I do think that has increased my my win rate versus Toxicroak lead a decent amount. So I think that it was a valuable addition. Actually, Jacopotamus, one of my Patreon supporters, actually helped me come up with that. It was a really smart idea by him, except we were using it for a different Pokemon instead, but the thought still applies here for sure. I'm going to end up shielding this Ice Beam because I recognize that my Victreebel does the most here, and this is actually a very unfortunate game now I remember it. Yeah, I very easily could have won this game, but I kind of got in my own head here and felt like I needed to make a play. So I kind of played myself. So we're going to see Bastiodon versus Umbreon. This Umbreon has quite a bit of energy, so it's not an even matchup like you would expect Bastiodon to win. So we're both using fast move denial as far as I can tell. There's been no fast moves going through. And I'm going to get a Stone Edge off. And this foul play is going to put me very low. So instead of staying in, I swap out and get farmed down by this Umbreon, who is now at another foul play. If I just stayed in, they would have had to throw a move, or I would have gone to a Stone Edge, and then I could just finish off the Umbreon with a couple Razor Leafs. So really unfortunate game there. I should have absolutely won this one. Oh, this game too. Yeah, so a couple really bad games by me in a row. I knew this was going to be a Grass Hole lineup, so I'm going to throw this Body Slam. They don't shield, but I will be able to get a shield off their next one. They don't elect to throw the Leaf Blade at me. Regardless, that Leaf Blade is probably getting shielded, so now their Victreebel is very low. I don't lose a lot of these Grass Hole games, but I did lose to this guy and to J-Jan. So they're playing it very well. I lost this guy because I didn't expect a certain Pokemon in the back to be what it was. I expected a Grottle or something. But they do come back in with the Bastiodon here. And I'm going to swap into my own Bastiodon, and it's a Shadow Torterra. So this is absolutely awful. I can't just force win this with shields because ground forces or makes the Torterra resist my rock fast moves. So if this was any other Razor Leafer, I would have won this game. But because it is a Shadow Torterra, which is a ground type, I'm unfortunately going to have to shield another Sandtomb here, and their Bastiodon has enough energy that it can come in and just finish me off. I think my best play would have been to not shield that Sandtomb and just hope that I can get to a Leaf Blade first, but I don't think I could win either way. The Torterra there was definitely spiced. J-Jan outplayed me in a different way, but this was me just not realizing that it was going to be Torterra in the back. So we're going to see a Toxicroak lead here. So same plan. I don't get an extra fast move through there, so it'll be a bit rougher switching into Vigoroth. But they actually swap first, and I see the swap, and I immediately throw my charge move to pause the timer to make a decision. And I decide to stay in to clear out this Clefable so that I can rearrange my Pokemon a little bit. Unfortunately, this is an Alolan Marowak, and I need to keep my Bastiodon away from Toxicroak, so I let Vic go down. Because I do need this switch advantage way more than anything else right now. So they come in with a Toxicroak, which is nice because I didn't want to have to use a charge move, and I'm going to swap right away to Vigoroth. Luckily, Toxicroak's charge moves don't do too much damage to Vigoroth. I don't know why I shielded that In hindsight, that was pretty dumb, but luckily I'm able to get a couple of body slams off here, really weaken this Alolan Marowak and force him to throw the energy he has if he wants to be able to beat the Bash. Like, the only way I would lose here is if he was able to farm down the Vigoroth and then bring a big charge move into the Bastiodon. So able to pick up that win. This set should have honestly been a 5-0, but I kind of flubbed in 2 games pretty hard. Not that my opponents didn't play well. I just mean that I was put in the I was given the ability to win both of those sets by matchmaking, and just my team comps were able to do it, but it didn't quite work out the way that I wanted it to. So yet another 3-2, but we're still chugging along. So we're gonna see a Sableye lead here. This is extremely favorable. Shiny Sableye too, but I'm gonna stay in. I just have to blow 1 shield to win switch advantage here, and they're gonna go right into the Ferrothorn. So I'm gonna go in with Vigoroth as well. With 2 shields up, the Bastiodon matchup is really rough. I do know I'm gonna have to spend a shield here, but I throw my energy anyways, and it's not quite enough. I don't know this matchup quite well enough. Usually I'm like farming it down so I can throw energy at something else, but I know Sableye's coming back in. My energy is probably better spent on the Ferrothorn. So a little bit of a mistake from me, but I'm able to eliminate the Ferrothorn there, which threatens the rest of the team quite hard. And they're going to come in with Scrafty. And luckily... Oh, no, I don't have a shield left, so this game is actually going to be pretty unwinnable. And it all comes down to, in that case, having to blow that extra shield on the Ferrothorn. If I did my math a little bit better or had a little bit more energy or something like that, I would have been able to live there instead with the Victreebel. So we're going to see a Venusaur lead. Venusaur is a bit of a problem for this team, but luckily they stay in here versus Vigoroth. I'm going to shield, and they're going to bring in Galarian Stunfisk. So this is an interesting switch in as well. Galarian Stunfisk does okay against Vigoroth, but counters really hurt, and Bulldoze really hurts too. So I'm going to be able to get a shield back on them. And I'm actually just going to throw Body Slams here because they do hurt a decent amount. And I forced the CMP tie here, which is absolutely fantastic. He Rock Slides me, and I'm able to come in with Victreebel, and he doesn't have enough energy for a move. My worry here is they're going to come back in with the Venusaur. But I decide to stay in and not give up switch instead. I think I'm trying to catch a Sludge Bomb. So we'll see if that worked or if they were baiting. So yeah, the Sludge Bomb comes out, and they're going to come in, and it's just a Bastiodon at the end. So I now have shield advantage and Pokemon advantage because Shadow Victreebel is still around, and Venusaur is way too low. So really, I'm just waiting for the switch timer to come back up so I can end this game instead of watching Bastiodon in a mirror match for however long. So switch timer's finally up. I think I'm making the extremely safe play to make sure they throw their energy first so I can come in with Shadow Victreebel and finish off their Bastiodon. Even if they throw a charge move, I have a shield. So it's not too big of a deal, but I just wanted to keep it safe there. Yeah, able to take down that Venusaur lead. Yeah, this team honestly has a pretty good time dealing with poor leads compared to a lot of teams. I think you've seen some Skarmory lead wins, some Altaria lead wins, some Venusaur lead wins, and all those Pokemon 4 times resist grass. So I'm just going to charge up here on Vigoroth. I do have to shield the Sky Attack just in case they do stay in, and it looks like they do. So at this point, 2 charge moves are thrown. At the very least, the switch clock is out of order, which is good if you know how to play around it. In this case, they swap in Mew, which is kind of a very confusing swap for me. Because this is a Pokemon that Vigoroth can deal with. I don't shield the first move, just because it seems like a lot of Mews are running Flame Charge nowadays. So him boosting the damage on Shadow Claw doesn't really mean anything to me. So if anything, I would shield the second move. For example, in this case, if I had shielded the first flame charge and then he flame charge again, I would have already fainted. He would need this third flame charge. But now I see blood, so I'm going for it. I can win back switch advantage here. And I don't know why I did that, but yeah, that was just a very confusing play. I had switch advantage one back and decided to just lose it instead. But luckily Bastiodon is able to farm down Altaria. I really have to hope that this Azumarill doesn't have Hydro Pump, but I've got a feeling that it does. Oh, no, it doesn't. Okay, so I was saved by the moveset. Thank God. Actually, no, I do know I swapped to Vic right away. It's because if the Azu was able to farm down my Vigoroth, then it would have had an Ice Beam for Victreebel. And this way I was able to force the Altaria to get in there. So I guess it wasn't too bad of a play. Now we're going to see a Meganium come out. Yeah. So this happened. Wigglytuff into Meganium. This is like the ideal scenario because I'm getting this Meganium out of the way early. But we're going to see about 30 seconds plus of lag. So yeah, that's right. A Frenzy Plant went through my shield because it didn't actually go off. Then the second Frenzy Plant gets blocked. You can see I didn't actually get the extra energy like you normally would for when it lags and you keep on auto attacking. I didn't get anything. And I'm going to have to let Victreebel go down at this point, which is extremely frustrating because it turns out this Meganium has another Frenzy Plant. So that's 4 Frenzy Plants from a Meganium because I decided to lag for 30 seconds. Yeah, Wigglytuff comes back in. You'll be able to see how well my team matches up versus this team. I would have been able to delete the Meganium, and then Bastiodon can pretty much solo Wigglytuff and Alola Marowak with shields. No Vigoroth needed, but instead, due to lag, this game was 100% lost. Which is really unfortunate because this was one of my last sets right before I stopped playing. So my final rating is actually heavily dependent on the fact that I lost this game. Whereas if I had lost a game to lag about a week ago instead, it wouldn't have really mattered in the grand scheme of things with your rating, because if you have a lower rating because you lagged out of a game, you're going to get more rating from your next games. Because this was my second last set. Unfortunately, I can't make up this rating. So Flying Cup at this point had started. This is my fifth game of my second last set. Unfortunately, I did not run into any people in regular Great League who were playing Flying Cup because Bastiodon would have just won all those games. But we're going to see another Venusaur lead. This is way more common than it used to be. I'm not sure why there's so many Venusaurs all of a sudden. But they stay in versus Vigoroth, which is completely fine with me. Vigoroth outpaces Venusaur to moves, and if you both spend 2 shields, you end up KOing. So I'm going to spend another shield here, I think. No, I actually let my... Okay, very interesting choice by me. I think I definitely could have won back switch advantage, but I guess in this case I decided to save a shield for Victreebel, and it ended up paying off because Galarian Stunfisk in the back, I'm able to now beat this because I had a shield. So I'm not sure what I was thinking at the time, but it clearly was on another level compared to what I'm thinking right now. So well played by past me. I'm not sure what future me was thinking, but I was able to salvage this set despite the awful lag. Yeah. I'm really not sure why I didn't shield that. My ammo would have been to double shield and just go for that switch advantage win for sure, but I guess it is what it is. We'll never be able to see what other Pokemon was in the back either, because they decided to just leave, but it probably was something pretty weak to Shadow Victreebel then, I guess. Alright, so we're going to move on to the last set here. And see how it goes. This set went a lot better than any of the other ones. I'm not sure if it was favorable leads or good luck or whatever, but we're going to see Galarian Stunfisk in the lead. They don't charge up to an Earthquake. So because they don't charge to an Earthquake, I'm not going to shield. I don't need to shield at all. I'm going to go for the Leaf Blade. And guess what? Victreebel wins the no shield if you don't bait properly. So they're going to come with Pelipper, and this is a Pokemon, or Wing Attack Pelipper, that I'm fine with beating with Bastiodon, but they swap right away. They know exactly what's coming in. And very similar to the Venusaur matchup, except even a little bit better because your counters aren't resisted. You win the 2 shields pretty handily. And at this point, I realize Vigoroth, the only thing that it needs to do right now is get rid of this Meganium. The one thing I have to be worried about is the switch timer. If they catch a Body Slam, I could very well lose this matchup. But I'm taking a look at the switch timer. There's still a sliver left. I know they can't switch yet. So I'm going to pop that last Body Slam. They could swap now, but it is too late. And they're just going to save me the time because Bastiodon crushes Wing Attack Pelipper. Well, I wouldn't say crushes, but wins pretty handily. So this is the battler I mentioned earlier, Pepper Mini Sticks. This is the Altaria Shadow Machamp line that I lost to last time, but this time I know what's going on. I'm not going to wait too long to throw my Body Slam. I'm going to throw it right away. And because of this, they don't feel pressure to throw their Cross Chop, and I'm able to get to my second Body Slam. Guess what? We're going to get 2 shields instead of switch advantage. So because I have 2 shields, I can now bring in Shadow Victreebel and take down this Machamp with only 1 shield. I shield a Cross Chop, but because I shield a Cross Chop, I know the next move can only be a Cross Chop. So I'll take that damage. And switch timer's back up as well. So switch timer is back up. This is very important. That was the main reason why throwing my Body Slams was so important in the first place. Because switch timer is up, they don't have any shields, they're forced to swap to Shadow Victreebel right away. And all I need to do is get to that charge move on Bastiodon. I flex by throwing the Stone Edge instead of the Flamethrower. But now it's just Bastiodon versus Altaria. This is very clean-cut matchup. They're going to stay in because they do think that they have a chance with the Dragon Pulses, but Stone Edge is going to finish the game off, and that's how you win a very negative lead with a very negative switch right there. And that's a product of me knowing what their team is. If I can tell what their entire team is going to be, I have a much better chance at winning because I can identify my win condition. So we're going to have a Mew lead here. It's probably going to be a Flame Charge, so I'll just shield it. This is a very positive lead. And I'm just going to finish off this Mew. Now we're going to see what's coming in next. It's a Skarmory, so I'm going to swap right away. So they actually stay in a while, the Skarmory, and I make a pretty big mistake here. So I no-shield this because I've done this before and not gotten KO'd by a Brave Bird. So this Brave Bird KOs, and unfortunately, their switch timer is up and mine isn't because I wasn't able to throw any charge moves there on my Vigoroth. So the exact mistake I just talked about, I did it again. In this case now, our switch timers are misaligned. So that means I can swap to Shadow Victreebel and they cannot swap out. So this is that's a case of playing with the misaligned swap timers and you understanding what your Pokemon, what you can do with your Pokemon when they can't. So playing with misaligned swap timers is definitely something that is very, very complicated and it takes a lot of time to get used to. And it is a video topic that I do want to cover in advanced strategies in the future. I'm just going to write down the specific, what do you call it? This specific match so I don't forget it later. Alright, so we have a Galarian Stunfisk lead. This player also chooses not to charge up. So I will just tank the Rock Slide, no problem. And they're going to swap into Shadow Machamp. So luckily they do that, because otherwise I am in a lot of trouble. The Shadow Machamp wouldn't get anywhere near that low. I'm able to bring in my Vigoroth and really shield this Cross Chop and just take a couple counters worth of damage. Like it's still a lot because it's, or actually it wasn't that much, because it's Shadow Machamp and I got the counter through. But they're going to bring their Azumarill. So realizing that Azumarill is a much better matchup for Bastiodon, the Galarian Stunfisk, I swap in the Bastiodon. And because I know that they're probably going to swap in Galarian Stunfisk when their timer is up, I don't throw any charge moves against Azumarill. I am just farming up the Azumarill to get to flamethrower so I can unleash them on Galarian Stunfisk like I just did. So Bastiodon takes down Galarian Stunfisk, and we have Azumarill come in now. Azumarill throws energy, and at this point I can get to a Stone Edge and then swap out, and hopefully Vigoroth can do the job. I really just need a Body Slam here, and I have to hope that they weren't at a Hydro Pump or something ridiculous like that, but they're running Play Rough, Ice Beam. So Bastiodon was relatively safe against this Azumarill anyways. So this was kind of another case of misaligned switch timers, and once again, it's very tough to think about those kind of things while they're in motion. So we're going to see an Obstagoon lead. This is pretty favorable for Shadow Victreebel. It's okay. I would say it's decently even. You want to let the first move through because it's just a Night Slash, and if they get boosted, you absolutely can't let the second one through. I'm going to swap out into Vigoroth. So I don't normally do this. I think this was a misclick with the new switch menu. I really meant to go in with Bastiodon. I fail my fast move denial there, so they get an extra confusion through. Everything is just going wrong this match. And then I decide to spend shields as well. So I gave up on fast move denial there. You can see I'm trying to time my charge or fast moves instead, or my charge moves instead. But I'm able to get to another Body Slam, and unfortunately this will not KO. So I don't even win switch advantage back. In this case, I can come in with either Pokemon, but because they have a charge move, I can come with Bastiodon. Thunder Punch doesn't hurt at all. And I think I'm in pretty rough because they have an Obstagoon and an Azumarill, but I'm going to swap in right away and Leaf Blade. I want to get rid of this Obstagoon because he can do a ton of damage to Bastiodon. So luckily they don't shield Obstagoon, and this is what actually gives me the win. I make a really dumb decision here to shield, and it's an Ice Beam. It's a tough call, but I probably shouldn't shield the first one because I think they kind of have to bait to win, or go straight Hydro Pump to win. But it turns out they're not running Hydro Pump anyways. So once again, saved by the Azumarill moveset. Since Azumarills are electing to run Play Rough now, mainly for the mirror and all the dark types that are everywhere, either Victreebel or Bastiodon is going to have play versus it. So yeah, going to end off on a high note. It was a 5-0 set, and I was going on vacation the next day, so I figured that would be a fantastic place to end it. Gave some of my Patreon supporters a little bit of time to run it before I released what I was running again with this video, but I guess this can kind of act as a little bit of an updated matchup guide. I know there's stuff like Mandibuzz that wasn't really shown in this video. There's only a couple Mandibuzz games, and the higher rating I got, the less Mandibuzz I saw, so I'm not really sure if it's a bit of a trap Pokemon or just the high-rated players are just running teams that they're very comfortable with and used to playing or something like that. But anyways, as always, thanks for watching. If you like this kind of content, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll put my Patreon, my Discord, and Twitter info in the description. And if you guys would like to support me, I'd be happy to have you for sure. And coaching has filled up pretty quick. But if there are any available spots left and you need coaching, then that's available on my Patreon as well. And if not, I'll probably open up some new spots next month. I'm just dealing with a lot of, I guess, backed up coaching from last month, this month as well. So, yeah, that'll probably open up next month. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll be sure to bring a lot of little Kanto Cup teams, hopefully. My Stardust Wallet is really going to hurt. So.